we're doing something we've never done before. We're going for a big triple record.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, 2's the most we've ever done.
Yeah, the only reason why is just from sheer coincidence. We've actually watched a number of these shows beforehand, so we're going to try and race through them as quick as possible.
Honestly, I'm going to tell you
ahead.
Candidly now, for this triple back-to-back recording, I have watched a grand total of 2 shows specifically.
I think I'm the same. Yeah, same here, actually. I wonder if they're the same. I don't think they are the same because, yeah. So, our first... Right, I already need a wee. This isn't a good start.
Well, we'll have a break in between.
Yeah. All right. So, if I start talking really quickly, it's because I'm just pissing. So, okay. So the theme for this one, I'm guessing, is it a return
nerdy
to a
stuff?
franchise? No, okay, nerdy stuff. That's
also,
it.
I like that return to a franchise. That is definitely what I had in my head.
I was trying to think of something else that links them to, and I don't think Rhys Ifans is actually in Obi-Wan, which is a shame because I wanted the link to be Rhys Ifans. But
No, I think
Paddy's never been in Star Wars either, has he? Jesus, Matt Smith. Is there a Doctor Who in Obi-Wan Kenobi? Because if there's a Doctor, then we can say, well, there we go.
I'm trying to think. I don't think Matt Smith... he was probably a stormtrooper at some point.
Oh, everyone was a stormtrooper, weren't they? I mean, James Bond wasn't he? This is something really interesting. Just before we get properly started, Glass Onion, right? We watched Glass Onion, then followed it up with a rewatch of Knives Out recently. And it occurred to me that if they keep making films where Rian Johnson directs Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, there's a good chance that he could be better remembered for playing Benoit Blanc than he was James Bond.
But the thing, he'll be remembered by a different set of people. There'll be the people who like James Bond and the people who like good films.
Ooh, shots fired. Well, I mean, I say shots fired. Most James Bond
just one
films
shot straight down
bad.
the lens of a camera fired. That's...
Hey,
Matt Smith was in.
That was
Rise of
actually quite
Skywalker.
good. Was he?
Yeah, I think. No, he wasn't.
Oh, okay, good.
That's a shame. I should really read more than the fucking headline.
What was the headline? Matt Smith isn't in
Matt
Rise
Smith
of Skywalker.
confirms his role in Rise of Skywalker, and I was like,
As not in it. That's
And
a really
then-
weird thing.
about halfway through the arc, he's like, yeah, they were really close to getting me in it, but they didn't. Like,
Oh, okay.
cool. Why have you wasted my time?
It gets clicks, doesn't it? Gets clicks. Which would you want to start with? Do you want to start with Obi-Wan Kenobi? Do you want to start with House of the Dragon?
Ooh, that's a question. Ooh, you'll be wanting an answer. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay.
Oh, we missed the chance to just open the podcast. Just hello there.
Oh, fuck. Why didn't we Right, start again.
Okay, and 3, 2, 1.
Hello there. Yeah. All right. So long awaited this one, wasn't it? We knew we were getting this for quite a few years before it actually came out.
It was going to be a film.
Was it
glad
really?
It wasn't. But yeah, it was meant to be. He was meant to get like a
long
film. Oh, it was only going to. That's the thing. It was only going to be. I guess
cut Leia, right?
2-3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, they couldn't have cut Leia because she was arguably the only reason this plot works at all.
Maybe Reva then? Like, could you cut Reva and have, like, you actually could.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect I mean, I wouldn't want it to because I think she's one of the best things about this show.
I think you'd probably end up cutting a lot of the story around the Inquisitors.
Yeah.
And just
particularly
really focusing on Obi-Wan's story.
Yeah, particularly the Grand Inquisitor who, like, he's dead within the first one but then comes back in the penultimate one?
Yeah.
Is that
To
right?
be fair, the Inquisitors would work as just like a sort of side along to Vader.
Yeah.
And they can just show up, fuck shit up and just disappear. Which in the context of a film would work. Because you just sort of go like, oh cool, Vader has like little death gremlins. But in the TV show, I think you need to expand on them a bit more. Otherwise, they're a bit hollow.
Is this the first sort of
I think it's the first live action.
Live action. Yeah, because like, what was it? Was it Rebels that properly introduced it? I don't know if they're in the comics or something actually, maybe, but I remember
I think it's
them being
Rebels
a
that they turn
big
up.
part of Rebels, aren't they? Because Jason Isaacs voices the Grand Inquisitor in at least the first series of Rebels. I don't know if that then changes because I think he dies actually. But yeah, so 10 years. It's been 10 years since Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan's become a sushi chef. And he's hanging out in Tatooine, keeping one eye on Luke. And he, as we find him, doesn't realise that Anakin survived and is now calling himself Darth Vader. So,
yeah, that was quite a
weird realisation. Like, when you consider how much thought between the two of us that we've put into Star Wars over the years, that never occurred to me that he didn't know.
I always assumed that he knew, because also he sees it. He sees him being like anointed by Palpatine, so he knows, because Palpatine's like, "Arise, Lord Vader," and because he sees it on the security footage. I'm pretty
that bit.
sure.
Sorry, I thought. Yeah. No, but so he knows that he's now Vader. He doesn't know that when he leaves him on Mustafar that he's not dead.
Yeah, but surely he's heard about this.
There's this big robot going around killing everybody.
This big guy dressed all in black who keeps calling himself Darth Vader, and he's like, "No, I don't think that's my kid."
It's just there can't be two, right?
No, odds are it's probably just fine. But this also does, not in the first episode, but gives you because you know the big whole plot hole thing where Obi-Wan in episode 4 calls him Darth like it's a name. But then after this, that makes more sense because he's just doing it in just disrespect. Like, you could have been a Jedi, mate.
I do kind of also just feel like that is it's not even a plot hole and it didn't really need to be filled, because really the real answer is they made the first one in 1977 and didn't know it was going to be a phenomenon that they'd keep adding to like 40 years down the line.
But they should have.
I don't need every single thing to line up, you know?
No. But it was quite I think it's maybe more of a nod to the original trilogy than it is to fix it.
Yeah. No, I get that, but I know there's a lot of people. Well, I'm mainly thinking of one guy in particular who's very vocal with any sort of changes or anything that doesn't line up or anything to do with Star Wars, and it's when you realise you're an adult whinging about stuff that's meant for kids. Like, don't worry about it. Speaking of, I mean, we should mention that Moses Ingram did get a lot of flack, like death threats and racism and shit, for being... I don't really understand why. I think it's because, you know, in all the galaxy, how could there ever be black people? Do you know what I mean? That's the most unrealistic thing that Star Wars does.
There's only... But it's not even like they take up a big proportion of the cast. Because it's very, like... weirdly, almost very sort of tokeny.
Well, you've got... Who have you got? You've got Lando... You've got Mace Windu. You've got Reva. That's pretty much it.
Finn. Despite them fumbling his character entirely.
Do you know, I completely forgot about those movies. That's another thing. I loved Force Awakens. I really liked Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker gets weaker with every watch. But I don't really care.
Maybe
like,
every time you rewatch Rise of
fun.
Skywalker, you just get a little bit more love for the Clone Wars, and that's...
Yeah, we have had Christmas, haven't we, in between talking about Star Wars, so obviously I now have a shiny new copy of Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. There's more where that came from, for now. genuinely, my goal is to make it impossible to buy them in the UK.
I think you single-handedly might cause an actual shortage. That would be, that would be really funny if somewhere in some DVD printing house, because of you, someone's going, we really need to print some more of these.
But why?
Why are they being bought somewhere near Epsom?
Some cunts bought a shipping crate.
I think everyone's agreed that it's really good to have Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan.
I think whenever he reprises a character, it's always... There's a little bit of trepidation going in, because you're like, what if they fuck this up? And then they smash it, and it's brilliant.
How many times does he reprise a character, though? Because
I can only think of
this in Trainspot.
Yeah. But that's the thing, going into Trainspotting 2, I was like, what if he can't, like, recapture it? Like, I know he's an actor, and that's, like, if he can't, he's sort of shit. But there's just that sort of, like, it's been a while. Because Renton and his first outing as Obi-Wan, not that far apart. Tonally, very far apart. But
wait, what? Oh, what? And you mean in time?
When he filmed them, yeah.
Right, I was gonna say. Obi-Wan's not much like Renton, I'll be honest.
Yeah, no, I did realise what I'd said, then just like, no. Tonally, very different characters.
He plays a character called Billy in Little Voice, and he also plays a character called Billy in Scenes of a Sexual Nature. But I think they're unrelated films. I think that's the only we've covered the only time he has played the same character after a bit of a break.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I wouldn't be mad if he came back and did Obi-Wan Season 2, Trainspotting 3. Maybe you could reprise some other roles.
I don't know if I want any more of this. Now, this is a really interesting thing, because I think the whole thing is written on the premise of, okay, so, you know, Mustafar isn't the last time between, you know, Obi-Wan and Vader meeting on the Death Star. There's another, and it turns out there's a couple of fight scenes, because I think they have 2 fights, don't they?
Yeah.
They have the one where he sets fire to the was it like
where he sets fire to Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the big one where he throws all the rocks at him.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I wouldn't want them to revisit him and Vader again, but have him off somewhere doing something.
What, with Qui-Gon and shit now? Because obviously Qui-Gon shows up at the end.
Do like something like that where it's not necessarily like a whole, maybe not a whole, even 6 episodes might be a bit much, but just something somewhere where he's just like about. I don't know, I think it's just, it feels like there's so much more story to be told in that gap that isn't just taking him and re-establishing his association with Vader and knowing that it's Anakin.
I don't know. I really, really think I'm done with it now, because like I said, I don't think every little gap needs filling. It's like in the Alien movies, like there's a thing in the very first Alien that you're looking at it, and you're like, what the actual fuck is that? And it's not talked about. And then in Prometheus, it shows you explicitly what that thing is. And it's like, oh, I think I preferred it when it was, you know, a bit mysterious, when you didn't know what it was and you didn't really know what you were looking at.
Yeah, I get that. But I can think that, but my brain also goes, but more Star Wars.
I don't know. I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, okay, I think when we were younger, Star Wars was so special because there really wasn't a huge amount of it. Like, you think about it, when we were growing up with it, we got to live through, you know,
I mean, we're actually quite lucky.
Star
We've
Wars
had
movies.
6 Star Wars films released in our lifetime.
See, that's wild, But for the
I mean, my dad's had
probably
9.
but for the part where certainly I was the most voracious Star Wars fan, was when there wasn't a lot of like official stories being told about it, and it was up to me and my friends to imagine what would happen in between each episode and what it was like before Phantom Menace, in the times of the High Republic and all that sort of stuff.
Hear me out.
I'm hearing you out.
Obi-Wan time travels to the Old Republic.
No, what are you doing?
That's how we get our Old Republic film. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, less is more often. But the thing, I just want to see Obi-Wan I just want to see Ewan McGregor do it more. I think it's more that I enjoy watching Ewan McGregor be Obi-Wan than I think maybe anything else. I mean, Hayden Christensen coming back was nice.
It was cool, but he was never like, it wasn't an incredible performance as Anakin, was it? Like, it was really nice to have that scene back where they were like, they were doing a bit of training or whatever,
pretending to be young, and you go, Ewan McGregor hasn't aged, but somehow 19-year-old Anakin has aged 30 years.
It was a nice touch, but I don't know. I don't like. Obviously, I don't inherently have a problem with it existing because, if Star Wars is now this massive universe, which is based on, hundreds of stories rather than one, that's totally cool. But I will always have loved it most when we didn't know what happened in between each one. Saying that,
Rogue One's the best Star Wars film.
It's probably the best film. I don't know if it's the best Star Wars film because it's the best film that's like about war, and that in and of itself can the best sort of singularly told story, I think. But Star Wars is, for me, I mean, it is the swashbuckling sort of, laser samurai. I always preferred that to running around corridors with blasters and stuff like that. I always preferred like the Jedi stuff.
Yeah. Although weirdly, what I found with the Obi-Wan series is that, so there's that very distinct difference in lightsaber combat between the prequels and the original trilogy.
Yes.
This perfectly bridges the gap because you see characters that you saw fight in this hyper stylized, like, I do so many spins for a reason. Also go into that more like brutal, like just
standard
try and hit, which was cool. Apart from, like, I guess there was a little flash of it at the end, but for the most part, it's quite a good gap in lightsaber styles.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. That hadn't occurred to me, that because I did watch like the final fight again, and you're absolutely right. There's a little bit of sort of jumping, but there's no like somersaults or butterfly flips or anything like that.
Yeah, it's almost more.
It's because you can't
grounded,
in that Vader suit,
I guess. Yeah, that's the thing. But I mean, what we also haven't touched on at all is when we went into this, having this, so the Star Wars thing that came out before this was Book of Boba.
Mm-hmm.
I remember us talking before this came out and just being like, I hope they don't fucking stay on Tatooine.
Oh, yeah. And then episode 2, he leaves.
Yeah,
he does come back, though.
What I expected to happen was that it would be
it's just
Luke
looking
story.
After Luke. Yeah, I think that was a really smart
that
move.
Bait and
I think
switch.
That's what everyone thought it was going to be.
They just went, it's Leia, she's been kidnapped.
And she was fucking great. I don't know who plays Leia in this. I'll find out who it was. She's brilliant.
Oh,
she's
100%.
really cool.
I would argue could have come close to stealing the whole show if it wasn't Ewan McGregor.
I'm trying to find who played her in Obi-Wan, and it's surprisingly hard to find. Vivian Lyra Blair, that's who she is. She's brilliant in this. She's genuinely amazing. A lot of people didn't like the fact that it was her in it as well. And I don't know why.
I think a lot of people have opinions about Star Wars, but forget how to just sort of be a fan.
Yeah. Like, I think I've got a feeling I mentioned this before, but Raoul Coley saying, like, Star Wars is, you know, it's always been a restaurant. You don't like every single dish, but you do have a favourite dish that you keep coming back to, and that's what you love about it.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor.
It turns out that's your favourite dish. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd ask if you were going to watch more of it, but I know that you've seen it all.
We have done, and to the point where the only sort of contact I really had with with Britain while I was away in the Maldives on my honeymoon was chatting to you and watching Obi-Wan as it came out every week and getting a job, doing my job interview out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all you wanted, really.
Yeah.
Apart from,
Yeah,
peace and quiet.
It was nice having peace and quiet, knowing I had money to come back to be completely honest with you. That was a bit of a relief.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe I would have liked to have maybe been the highlight, but, we take what we can get.
Hang on a minute. So, May 27th, was I out there at that point? Did we watch... I feel like we only watched 2 of them together. Did we? While I was out in the Maldives?
Sure. I think we kept up when you got back to watch I think it was the back half that we watched.
You know what it was? It was parts 3 and 4. Yeah, it was 3 and 4 that we watched while I was out there.
Yeah.
But yeah. Speaking of returning to a franchise that we previously thought we might have been done with, House of the Dragon. Right, so I can't remember what your opinion is on how Game of Thrones ended.
I would rather it had ended differently, but I'm also not mad because that's the ending we got.
Yeah.
It's a very sort of just like, it's, you were never going to please everyone. So when you can just go, fuck you all and please no one, like that's a ballsy way to do it.
Like I didn't mind the ending of Game of Thrones. However,
mostly I don't agree with Bran being king. That's mostly it because he's not an interesting character.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one, to be honest. I didn't mind
I
the
would
whole
just been
Daenerys
like,
and Jon thing. I just wish we had a bit more time with them.
I wish season 8 had been 2 episodes longer and had a time jump. Or actually the same length of time.
Love a time jump.
Just a little time jump so that she doesn't appear to go from 0 to I'm going to burn down the city in like no time at all.
But I saw a thing actually defending the whole thing of like, if you think she flips that decision when she sat on the back of that dragon right there, you haven't been watching the whole show.
No. Yeah, it's been
100%
coming.
is coming up there to stir some shit up. I was like, okay, yeah, fair enough. I'm not sure it was executed. It did feel, when you consider...
It feels quick.
Yeah, when you consider that it takes them, in the first series, about 4 episodes to get from Winterfell to King's Landing, and then they unlock fast travel sort of halfway through series 7. I still really enjoyed it, I still really, really enjoyed Game of Thrones. I probably will do a rewatch at some point of all of them because I can't remember an awful lot of it.
Yeah,
so
what I tend to do is I watch like a character's highlights from the show, and I'm like,
quite a good
when
idea.
the fuck did that happen?
That's quite a nice idea.
And then I close it, and then I watch Tyrion's highlights.
So House of the Dragon brings us then to 72 years before the birth of Daenerys, and tells the story of the events leading up to the beginning of the decline of House Targaryen, a devastating war of succession known as Dance of the Dragons. Okay, I fucking loved this.
Yeah,
and it's now put in my mind exactly what I want from any future shows from Westeros. Is I want this story, and I don't know if this is how it goes because I have only seen the pilot episode. This is the first time for me watching it. I think you've watched all of it, haven't you?
Yep.
So what I desperately want now from the world of Westeros is I want a series of TV seasons where a single story is told over the entire season and it's left, and then we just jump to different parts of it. I just want, because you could do a version of this for like the Baratheons, or I mean, we kind of have a lot of Stark stuff with Game of Thrones, but the Targaryens are probably the most interesting family in the Seven Kingdoms. But I just want not tiny, but I just want single stories told over one seasons, because I would just love for that to be like the histories of Westeros. Almost is then made up of House of the Dragon, then House of the Stag, or whatever it is for Baratheon, that sort of thing.
So just to disappoint you,
is there going to be a season 2 of this?
This is going to be, I think
Bollocks.
it's like 3 or 4.
That's really, really a shame, because
But
I mean, go on.
If that's what you want, to just see, because I can't remember what time period this covers, but I think it might be like the first season covers like 30 years.
There's time jumps in this, isn't there?
Yep.
See,
There's some little ones, and then some slightly bigger ones where they get new actors in.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for there being big old time jumps, baby.
Yeah, I potentially think that time jumps are an underutilized thing in TV and film.
Yep, definitely. Because then, again, like I was saying with Star Wars, is that what you then get is gaps in a story which you have to fill in yourself with what you think's happened.
Yeah, or you get to skip the boring stuff. And I expect this has the advantage that Game of Thrones didn't have, where Game of Thrones is trying to tell a multitude of character stories all at the same time, trying to have them continue to make sense across all 8 seasons. Whereas this is going like, yeah, so we're pretty much gonna stay in King's Landing for the most part of it. You get to see some little bits of politicking, but it's only really like this handful of characters, and you get to go to Dragonstone and stuff as well. But
Okay, cool.
it is very like, there aren't as many locations as there are in Game of Thrones, and they're not so. The characters aren't all so spread out that.
Yeah, it's not quite as sprawling as.
Yeah, and their story is all very much like intertwined, much like the branches of their family tree.
Nice. Yeah. It feels like it's going to be telling quite a more focused story. Like,
like 100%. Yeah.
So you've got like the main players being the rebellious brother and the aging and ill king, and it's. Yeah, and
a couple
really
real nasty childbirth scenes.
Wait, there's more? Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
the thing is, I can't remember which one's worse.
So the first
There might
the
actually
one from,
be 3.
Oh, for fuck's sake! The one from episode 1 is pretty bad. It like to the point I texted a friend who has just recently. His son was born by a C-section, and he hasn't watched House of the Dragon. And I messaged him saying, "Listen, you're going to love
Give it a
House of the
minute.
Dragon, but you do need to be aware that this is a thing that happens. And I was like, I struggled to get through it. It really, really did upset me. And I think it might be because I spent, 2 years nearly? I can't remember, but working in sort of, birth and that sort of thing. Seeing the mum's, she's not given an idea of what's about to happen to her. She then can't give consent, and they just go ahead and perform the surgery on her without any sort of pain relief anyway. Was really upsetting to watch. I really didn't like that.
Yeah. The thing that I found with the earlier, I think specifically with the earlier episodes, is that not many characters come off as nice and affable and likable, and like they all have. They're not, for the most part. Then none of them are evil,
but none of them are like.
None of them are.
They're absolutely fine. Even even Viserys, who's Paddy Considine, who for the most part is like, he seems all right. When he makes that decision, I'm like, oh fuck, you are fucked as well.
Yeah, that doesn't really go away. It's weird without spoiling it too much because I have a feeling you're going to watch the rest of this.
Yes, I'm about to sign up for Now TV just so I can finish this.
Yeah, he makes some interesting choices.
Oh dear.
And I think arguably a lot of everything that happens is sort of his fault. But there's a lot of bad choices made by a lot of people. It's not just him. His are just big because he's the king.
Yeah. I think Matt Smith is brilliant in this as well. Like he and David Tennant have managed to do that thing which is seemingly quite difficult. Is when you've had a massive role, like playing the Doctor in Doctor Who.
I think it's Doctor Who is one of those roles that is hard to break. Like, how many years was it before we stopped going like, oh look, it's Harry Potter in that film, and then go, oh, Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah, we both know what film it was, but
I need to watch that again. I haven't watched that in quite a long time. That film. That's a very, very.
It's really good.
It's a really, really cool film. That one. God, we enjoyed that.
Oh, it was good. But yeah, it's a hard role to move on from, and I think Matt Smith's done a fair few things, but this is like the biggest, I think, departure from, because he went from Doctor Who to The Crown to I think a couple other things that I haven't actually seen, but and then to this, and it's just like, okay, now you're a cunt, but I like it.
Yeah, he does evil very well, doesn't he? He's got a good face for a Targaryen as well. You got to have like pretty solid cheekbones, I feel like.
I think genuinely the casting is almost to the point that you could sort of go like, oh, if you just like face morph this family tree, you're gonna get Emilia Clarke at some point.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah, they have done well there.
Genuinely, when they swap the actors out, the Rhaenyra's and Alicent's actors out, it genuinely, you just sort of go like, yeah, no, 100%, you would grow up to be her.
One of the things that I had decided was the plot. As I was watching it, I was like, oh, I wonder if this is going to happen. What I thought was going to happen was because the scene where the baby is born and he is so set that he's having a son, the king, sorry, he's so set on having a son. What I thought was going to happen was the maester who was attending the birth was going to say, oh, you've had a son, but it be a girl. So they raised this girl as a boy just to appease him because he's been so set on it. I was like, oh,
that'd be an interesting story.
Because if you go back with that mindset and you watch that scene again, he doesn't show the king the kid. He just goes, yeah, you've had a son, and then turns away. And I was like, maybe that's what's happening, but that's
not.
you know,
It did.
he not to be. Very soon after, he's dead. So never mind.
Yeah, but what I like is that you start to get not an insight into it, but you start to see the relationship between the brothers.
Yeah.
When he's just like, "Bruh, did you say my nephew was like air for a day?"
Yeah, it's a bit.
Or was it air for an afternoon?
No, it's air for a day.
It's like, oh, it's just how I deal with things. It's like, yeah, but like, he's still your brother. But then that starts the whole, oh, I'm gonna name a new heir, and it's just like, okay,
not fucking you. And then I thought that was quite a nice little thing, saying like, right, so basically, there's a secret that's been passed down from king to heir. There's this big thing that's coming called the Song of Ice and Fire. That,
I wonder what that could be.
Like, there's this evil growing in the north, and it was going to come down, and we need to be prepared for it, and yada yada yada. And actually, the real shame of that particular thing is that, yeah, but that's sort of all sorted within one episode in season 8.
See, so
don't worry
I've
about
seen some things that have been pointing to that and going like, but the whole thing says like, when the Song of Ice and Fire comes, a Targaryen must be sitting on the Iron Throne. It's like, oh, what if season 8 wasn't it? What if it's going to be in the Jon Snow spin-off? That because there was no Targaryen on the throne, that it's not actually resolved yet. But also,
wait, isn't Dany on the throne at the point where Winterfell gets attacked?
she not on the Iron Throne. She's declared herself queen, but she doesn't have King's Landing at that point. Winterfell happens
so
first.
As a Lannister at that point, because it's still. Oh my god, how am I blanking on her name? Jaime's sister, Cersei. Jesus.
Yeah, and I mean for a first episode, I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy House of the Dragon. I mean, obviously, looking back, how could I not? It's all the politically stuff, and that's what Game of Thrones did really well, and then stopped doing. Because there's players in the background of this that all just kind of like gently nudge characters to like be worse.
Mm.
And it's brilliant. If you enjoyed Game of Thrones, you'll enjoy this.
Yeah, like having familiarity with the world really helps, I think, because there's stuff that's a shorthand, like you know what the Hand of the King means, and when they refer to like things like milk with a poppy and all that sort of stuff.
Game of Thrones didn't really explain much of that at all, but you spent longer.
You had long
in
enough
the
to
build
know
up
what
learning it with. I guess because Ned hadn't. But the thing is, Ned knew it all.
Mm.
But because you spent time with him experiencing what it was, whereas Hand of the King is just Hand of the King. He's not that big a player.
Okay, so this is something else that I was wondering, is how much involvement does George R.R. Martin actually have in it? And I didn't realise he'd actually
this is
written
based on
a
a
novel
book.
called Fire and Blood, which is all about this exact story.
Yeah, I
So
have
that
it.
makes sense.
Haven't read it.
Okay, is it another chunky boy? Yeah, 736 pages.
It's a big boy. It's like it's a Game of Thrones size book.
I actually wouldn't mind reading this one. Like, I'm not asked about.
I
the
think I want to
books.
read it after I've watched it. If that makes sense, because I think.
Yeah.
Also, I've heard that it does. There are some things that it does slightly differently, and also I was talking to someone about it on last week at some point. Apparently, the book is written from like a historical point of view, not a character point of view.
Oh, is it?
So it's written by like a maester after the fact. So apparently there are character deaths that are described in the book in like 2 or 3 different ways. and apparently the show has gone another way,
Oh,
which
okay.
has really
Fair
thrown
enough.
some people. So, but I also think that's a really nice idea, that because they're basing it on a history book, they can kind of go, no, this is the thing that they're basing it on, and as long as it's not a tenuous leap to get from the TV show to the book, you can kind of go, yeah, but they weren't there.
That is quite a nice idea, actually. But yeah.
Yeah. But also, were you also thrown by hearing the HBO intro?
Well, I
And then it
wasn't,
not
'cause
going straight into... I know I spoiled that for you, didn't I?
Well, you
Because you just go
mentioned
straight
it
into the
happened,
monologue.
So, but then from episode 2, it does, or something.
Yeah. Which, annoyingly, now that that's been spoiled for you, you won't get the, ooh, this back.
Well, it doesn't. It's not a huge. It's not a massive part of it. But this is the
No,
other thing.
it's not, but it's a weird... It's weird because Game of Thrones isn't that old, but it's a little like nostalgia where you're like, oh yeah, I remember when like this meant it was Sunday. Or Monday.
Well, it was
whatever day
Monday
came
for
out
us
in the
because
UK.
we'd watch it with our friends like the day after, and then Lisa would just be on her phone for for the hour because she was like, I'm not asked about the tits and dragons.
Just looking up to point things out that you hadn't noticed. But yeah, are you going to watch the rest of it? do you
Definitely.
think?
Definitely, like to the point. Like I've said, I'm about to sign up for. I've been offered a deal for Now TV movies and TV shows for like £6 for the month. So like, yeah, I'm definitely
That is
just
very much worth it.
because I was gonna just buy it outright on Amazon, but it's like £22 to finish off the season, or I could spend like £6, watch it for a month, rewatch the Batman, and then cancel the Now TV subscription. But yeah, I 100% am going to carry on watching this. Plus, it's only 10 episodes, which is brilliant.
Yeah. I'll have to get some updates the next time we're recording and you've watched an episode.
Yeah.
Probably not in the next one.
No, maybe not. I could try, but
I mean, it'd be impressive.
right, what are we doing? The next episode that we're going to
Spooky.
record next week, and by next week I mean in a minute.
Yeah, I wonder what my opinions on these TV shows are. They are going to be news to me. Yeah, we're going a bit more spooks with Midnight Club.
Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, don't know what that's about. And Kingdom Hospital, the Stephen King thing.
The Stephen King and Lars von Trier thing that they said would never happen. I had no idea this was a thing, and it's insane that those two have worked together, and I didn't know. So,
Well,
interesting.
You're welcome. This is what I thought Garth Marenghi's Dark Place was, or this is what I thought Garth Marenghi's Dark Place was called. But we'll talk about that momentarily.
No, not momentarily. Momentarily
In
means
2 weeks.
for a moment. So if
fuck off. We're
if the
going to
plane-
talk about
if
these
the
TV
pl-
shows in
if
2
a
weeks.
plane lands momentarily, it touches down and then takes off again. That's momentarily, not in a moment. Entirely different thing.